we've got to. We've somehow slipped into the future. No, we're not going to stick around to be part of some new experiment or other. They think we're a couple of guinea pigs.
Do you think the time barrier's still there?
Look! If we wear these on the ice, we won't collapse again.
Dr. Bukoff, I wanted to ask you about Liz and Simon. You simply discovered them out on the ice, you said.
Yes, Beth.
And there was no indication that they could have come from the drop shelter.
There's nowhere else they could have come from.
I think I better have another word with them.
Hurry, get the door open. We'll have to make a dash for it. Look back door, fathead.
No! Simon! That room, Mum!
Hey, you two, what do you think you're doing? Stop! Come back!
Pull yourself together. We're going to run for it.
But, Simon, you don't understand. You know who was in that room? It was Mummy! Mummy!
Thank heavens, the barrier. It's still here. Get your suit off, quickly.
Simon!
It's all right. We've come back to our own time.
Yes.
What's the matter?
I told you I saw Mummy in that room.
You were imagining it. Bit of that fantasy.
No, I saw her. I know I did.
But, Liz, it's not really possible now, is it?
Isn't it?
Well, that was the future in there. 1990.
I know.
This is only 1970, so you must have made a mistake.
I didn't. It was Mummy.
Now, look, don't cry. Crying's weak-minded. It's all a bit weird, I know. But we'll find the answer somehow. We'll try anyway.
All right, Simon. Thank you. You're so nice to me.
I'm not.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
not. What makes you say a stupid thing like that?
Because it's true. Oh, I know you like to pretend you're weak. But you're not when it comes down to it. Not really.
Now, look.
It was just such a shock, Simon. Seeing Mummy in a place like that.
Come on.
Oh, it's extraordinary. Honestly, this time I don't know whether to believe you or not.
Well, it's true, Daddy. We went into the future, 1990. There was this place called the Icebox, and they were doing all sorts of queer scientific experiments there.
Oh, no, they weren't queer. Just,
Advanced, Simon?
yes. For one thing, they'd perfected brain-computer links. That was in 1985. Well, at the moment, brain-computer links aren't even properly talked about in science, are they?
All right, then. All right. How do people get into the future? How exactly is it managed?
You say I was there, Liz?
Yes, Mummy.
In this icebox in the Antarctic?
Yes.
Well, darling, how? Why? I mean, was I alone? What about Daddy?
Well, come on. I want to know. How do people get into the future? Commander, when you explained about the children going into the past, you said it was because energy had been released and was still around to trigger off their hallucinations. But you can't say that about the future. I mean, the future hasn't happened yet.
No, so we'd have to think in terms of possible energy, wouldn't we?
Possible energy?
Yes, possible or potential. Energy that was going to be released sometime in the future.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't it?
Well, of course it doesn't. I mean, how can energy that hasn't even been released yet have an effect upon people living in the present day?
Well, anyway, the fact that the children went into the future at least explains why Mrs. Skinner lost touch with them.
I don't see that.
Well, you're a telepath, which means you can communicate with other minds, but only in your own time. Or in a time that you've known, such as 1940. To communicate with minds in the future, you'd have to have a very different gift. The thing called precognizance, or second sight, as you would probably call it.
What scrapes you two get into. But really, I don't understand how I could be in this icebox in 1990. Goodness me, I'd be a very old lady then.
No, Mummy. That's the funny thing. You look just as you look now.
Well, that would be the effect of HA57.
Of what?
HA57. That's a longevity drug they told us they've been developing there. It means that you don't age.
It's balmy. If it was a couple of years older, I'd say he'd been on the bottle.
Frank! Well, that's what they told us, Mr. Skinner. A drug that prevented you from aging. It was worked out by the director of the place, a man called Devereaux.
Devereaux? What was his Christian name?
Oh, Morgan. Morgan C. Devereaux, Director of Experimentation. That was the name on his door.
You know, this is all beginning to be quite fascinating.
Well, it's beginning to give me a pain.
Frank!
Oh, for heaven's sake, Jean. I mean, the children are back, safe and sound, and the questions about 1940 have been answered. Isn't that enough? Can't we just leave the whole business alone?
Scientific icebox. Yes, I think I'm beginning to understand. A place apart, where new techniques could be tried out, new developments initiated. A place constructed around the progress of science, with a major scientist in command to direct the experimentation. Fascinating. And you're beginning to find it all quite fascinating too, aren't you, Simon?
What's that?
Well, you seem to have observed rather a lot in this laboratory of the future, and science is your subject, isn't it?
Yes, but
Oh, no, you don't.
I don't know what you mean.
If you're working round to saying that the children must go back to this place, if it exists, let me tell you here and now that it's not on.
Oh, my dear
It's not
fellow.
on. This last little thrash did us all a world of good, didn't it? This one could be worse.
What makes you think so?
Because I feel it. Jean, not able to keep in touch with them. An atmosphere that sounds... Well, I don't know what it sounds like.
Skinner, the progress of science
Oh,
is the...
yes, we know all about that. And what did our little investigation into 1940 teach me? Except that I'd been mug enough to get in the way of one of your new developments and been made to suffer for it ever since. So you can't expect any sympathy from me for the progress of science. No, Commander. We're going home. My family, and me, and Simon. Leaving St. Oswald and the time bubble for good. I should be back at the usual time, but if old Cooper calls, you might
Yes,
just...
Frank, I know.
Oh, look, and try and persuade those kids to do something to amuse themselves today. They must be bored silly.
Well, Simon's father may ring. He may have to go home.
Oh, well, anyway. Bye, Jean.
Bye, dear.
Simon? I dreamt about the icebox again last night. Why would Mummy have been there?
Oh, not that again. I've told you I don't know.
Well, why don't you know?
Look, just forget about it. For God's sake, we can't go back, so what's the good of talking about it?
I see. What's the good of talking about anything to you?
Well, I'm tired of the icebox.
You've always got so much to say for yourself, haven't you? Fantastic conversation we had.
Oh, and what about you? You sparkle from dawn till dark.
Well, maybe I would if I had someone decent to talk to. You squash everything I say. You're just a wet blanket.
I am not. You're the one that turns everything sour. I'm too kind to you, that's all. You said yourself when we came through the barrier that...
Never mind what I said when we came through the barrier.
Well, why not? Didn't you mean it? I hope you didn't, because I'm sick of all this. I don't mind telling you. Sick of going off into other times. Sick of always being told what to do. Sick of you.
Good morning, Mrs. Skinner.
Commander Trainer.
I hope it's not too early for a call. I was anxious to catch your husband before he went to work.
Well, I'm afraid he's gone.
Oh, look, I tell you what, Liz, how about a film today?
I don't want to go to a stuffy cinema.
There's a good double feature on at the Classic. One by Renoir and another by Jean-Luc Godard.
Oh, no. Films in French. And with you.
Commander, you're not to go in there.
Morning, Simon. Liz?
Commander Trainer.
I asked you not to. I know what you want, Commander. You want the children to go back into the time bubble again. Well, they can't. My husband has forbidden it.
I may sit down, I take it. I haven't had any coffee yet. We know they can't come to any harm.
That isn't the point. Frank's against it, and so am I.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Oh, come now, Mrs. Skinner. Surely you must be anxious to know what on earth you could be doing in a research establishment at the South Pole sometime in the future. Almost as anxious as Liz is, perhaps.
That's unfair. Of course, there are mysteries. I mean, everyone admits it, but we're not concerned about them anymore. Can't you understand that? Not concerned.
Your loyalty to your husband is very touching.
It's nothing to do with Frank. I thought the whole thing over for myself and came to the same conclusion. It's a simple matter of making up one's own mind.
No, it isn't.
I'm sorry.
It's a matter of making up several minds. Simon's as much as anyone else's.
Simon? What about Simon?
Well, my boy, that longevity drug, eh? All sorts of intriguing developments.
Commander Trainer, I shall have to ask you to stop talking to the children like this. I know what you want. You want them to go back so they can find out things that will be of use to you.
Oh, yes, I can hardly deny that. If we know the course science is going to take in the future, we can start plotting the graph now.
Oh, no, it's more to it than that. You want information for your own purpose.
Oh, really?
If Simon were to discover the secret of the longevity drug, say, and give it to you...
Oh, Mrs. Skinner.
Anyway, there's nothing more to talk about. Liz is our child, and she'll do as we say. Simon's under our care till his father sends for him, so that's an end to it.
You look forward to your future life with equanimity, then, I take it. Strange life, enclosed in an Antarctic icebox.
No, I'm not going to talk about it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got rather a lot to do.
Can I come and help?
Thank you, Liz. When you've finished your coffee, I'll see you out.
Well, rather sad, don't you think, Simon, that we shan't find out?
Oh, I don't know, sir.
Oh, you surprised me. I took it for granted you'd be on my side.
I'm not on anybody's side. I'm just puzzled. I didn't like the icebox much. It was a creepy sort of place.
Ah, now, that's an unscientific attitude. Yes, but come to think of it, it's just about the right word to use for it. Creepy. Simon, you mentioned the director of the icebox earlier. Morgan C. Devereux, wasn't it?
That's right.
You're certain about the name?
Yes, that was the name on his office door.
Now, this is very interesting. Morgan C. Devereux was the world's leading authority on biology for several years.
You mean in our time?
Yes.
Well, he invented HA57. So I suppose after that he dosed himself on it first.
Oh, yes, quite. But I wonder how.
Well, what's the difficulty about that?
In June of last year, Morgan C. Devereux died. Oh, yes, no doubt about it, dear boy. He was a close friend of mine. I attended his funeral. Well, Simon, sure in your mind?
Yes, Commander, quite sure now.
The Skinners will play holy hell, you know. I shall be in terrible trouble. Probably finish up in clink on an abduction charge or something.
Look, I want to go back now. It wasn't only what you said, but there are things I've just got to know about.
Exactly. A scientist at heart.
Anyway, I think Liz is fed up with me.
Oh,
I just don't get her. She's the sort of person who says one thing 1 minute and then another thing the next.
Women, dear boy, women. And even when they say the same thing to you all the time, they generally mean the opposite. You like Liz, eh?
Like her? Oh, I don't know. Just thought you got the idea there. Forget it.
Well, Simon, a man has his work. You go in there and bring back everything you can, and Liz will be proud of you.
Yes, I suppose so.
Good luck, Simon.
Goodbye, then.
See you in jail.
You took him back to St. Oswald. Let him go back into the time bubble, in spite of what I said.
Now, let's not get into a state about this. I had very little to do with it. Why, the boy virtually insisted.
I don't believe you.
Oh, Mrs. Skinner.
I don't. Simon would never do a thing like that without telling me unless you'd put pressure on him. I should never have left the two of you alone.
Then why did you?
Oh, Frank, I was obviously more concerned for Liz. I had to stay with her.
You mean to say you tried to persuade her, too?
Now, look, there's really no need for all this anxiety. You're making me out to be some sort of Svengali. I assure you, I'm only interested in what people want to do themselves, and Simon has an inquiring mind. You must realize that. He needs to know the answers to puzzling questions. Right, Liz?
What?
I said, doesn't Simon fret and fret until he's found the solution to a vexing problem?
Oh, yes. Yes, he never stops trying to work things out.
Well, you've put me in a nice spot, haven't you? What the hell am I supposed to tell his father?
Oh, Simon shouldn't be gone more than a day or two.
You don't think I'm going to accept the situation and let you get away with it?
Oh, no, not at all. Knowing the man you are, I imagine you'll want to hit back.
I'm glad you realize it. I'm going to telephone the police.
Frank.
Well, don't you think I've a right to, G? I mean, for
Oh, you
heaven's
have the
sake...
right to. Nobody doubts that. The only question is, can you bring it off?
The facts will speak for themselves.
And what exactly are the facts? That I've kidnapped a member of your household and somehow projected him into the future. That a boy has gone missing but isn't likely to be found because he's in the year 1990. If any such harebrained notions were put to me, I should, of course, deny them outright. Say it was all a fabrication on your part, the unfortunate result of a war injury.
Commander Trainer, I've always known you were a ruthless man.
Yes, they always said I'd be Prime Minister if I didn't get hanged first.
This is more than I'm prepared to take. If you think...
Oh,
for one
forget it,
moment-
Jean.
No, Frank. He doesn't care whom he hurts as long as he gets his own way. He'd kill someone if he had to. It's about time he knew what we think of.
Oh, stop it! Stop it! All you're worrying about are yourselves. But it's Simon we've got to think of. Simon! He's back in that awful place.
That awful place. We can't dismiss it as easily as that, can we, Mrs. Skinner? We're all involved.
Liz. Liz, what's happening?
Nothing. I'm all right, Daddy.
No, you're not. What's the matter, eh? Why do you start crying like that?
Who's crying?
Here.
I'm not crying. It's nothing, really. Simon could go where he wants, can't he? Anywhere.
Look, the only reason I didn't want the two of you to go back was, well, because I thought we'd all had enough of it. And because it might still be dangerous.
But it isn't, is it? Mr. Trainer says we can't come to any harm.
Well, we don't know that, do we?
But Mummy's there, isn't she?
Liz, do you honestly believe that that's so?
I saw her. Anyhow, Simon could be a fool at times. Oh, I know he studies a lot and knows a lot of things that nobody else would even want to know. But he's not much good at looking after himself. Last time he depended on me a lot.
You mind very much what happens to Simon, don't you, darling? I see. So the world changes and my little girl suddenly becomes a big girl.
No,
Oh, it's a fact. So, looks as if this is something we shall have to discuss, doesn't it? Whether we like it or not.
Well, I don't understand it. Liz seems simply to have disappeared, and all the boy Simon will say is that he's been for a walk. Ha! been for a walk.
That's strange, isn't it?
It's more than strange. They really are a most unusual pair of volunteers.
Can you say they just seem to vanish into thin air out there on the ice?
Yes.
I want you to know I take a most serious view of all this, Simon, most serious.
Yes, sir.
You're a volunteer here, but we expect everyone involved to have a gravity of purpose and a sense of dedication. We serve science. Check?
Check, sir.
Now, about your companion. Director to computer. Field report on missing volunteer, radar and beam curve check. I sincerely hope we're not put in the position of having to request a new volunteer. We should be starting on the A-B experiment almost at once.
I'd like to say how privileged I feel to be here, sir. I've admired your work for a long time now.
I beg your pardon?
Your work, sir, it's terrific.
What does a kid like you know about my work?
Oh, I read everything I can about science. I first got interested through the works of Charles Trainer.
Trainer?
Yes.
Trainer, wait a minute. A couple of decades ago, minor physicist or something.
Don't you know any more about him than that?
Why should I?
Well, I thought he said he was wasn't he a friend of yours once?
Are you all right, boy?
Yes, sir, quite all right.
Then kindly stop babbling, will you? Trainer means nothing to me. I've barely heard of the man. We'll take another check.
Mummy? Mummy? Mummy, what's wrong? It's me, Liz.
No. No, don't come near me.
What's the matter?
You're not real. You can't be.
Mummy, don't. It's all right. It's only me.
Oh, I thought I saw you before at the door, but I told myself I was just imagining it.
We came through the time barrier. Simon and me.
Simon Randall.
Yes. You remember how we used to be able to go in and out of the time barrier? Well, this time it's brought us here.
Not here. It's not possible.
Why not?
Jean, the director asked me to ask you about... What are you doing here? I thought you'd gone away.
Now, don't hurt her.
I don't want her here, Jean. She'd no right to come.
Leave her alone. It's not her fault she came through the time barrier. Just as you were able to do once.
Just as she was able to do.
Yes, Liz. Try to understand. Beth is you. You, when grown up, you're one and the same person. It's two people, but my only daughter. It's the trick the time barrier's played on us.